1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Hello, 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 everyone. I am Yolanda, and we are here at your favorite therapist podcast. Here at YFTFT, it's a tongue twister. We bring in your favorite therapist, and we have conversation around life and them navigating being a therapist. So today, our special guest is Miss Shantelle Harrison. Me and Shantelle went to Winston-Salem State. I feel like I mention Winston every time I talk up here. But just so y'all know, yes. we went to college together and moved to Atlanta and ended up at Clark together. We went through the social work program together. We started working at DFACS together. And all the other things. So I'm going to let Shantelle, she want me to introduce her. But I'm going to let Shantelle introduce herself, okay?
Hi, I'm Shantelle. Like Yolanda said, we've been joined at the hip since this social work journey. A little bit about me. From North Carolina as well as Yolanda. I have a private practice enriched therapy group. So doing private practice work. I've been doing some community work in the past. Mainly therapy. What else about me?
A nonprofit.
Oh, nonprofit work before COVID hit. We were really on the ground doing some grass work. So anything social, anything community, anything related to helping people is really what I have been getting into. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And she don't play, y'all. When we worked at DFACS, baby, I thought this girl was an attorney. She would show up. What were they called? The SAGs?
What, the SAGs? Yeah, the SAGs.
She'll show up with the SAGs and be like, huh, what? Like, girl, let them SAGs do their
job. My job serious.
No, I get it.
I don't play about the children.
I get it.
I don't play about the kids.
Do you see kids in your private practice?
I don't, but some of my clinicians do see teenagers. But I see kids in public, and I'll be like...
She'll be like, no, because I'm a mandated reporter. I'll be like, girl, we out here having drinks. But no. And for those of you who are watching that don't know what a mandated reporter is, typically when you're in community service, when you're in anything health related or human service related, if you see abuse, right, you have to report it. If you see neglect, you have to report it. I remember being at like a Publix or something one time, and a kid came up to my car and asked for money or food or something like that, and I was just sitting there like, damn, man, I'm off work. And I was like, where's your mom? They're like, oh, you know, and I was just like, well, where do you stay? And so I gathered all this information, and I had to call the people, and he took off and ran. Girl, I know he felt so betrayed, so betrayed. But yeah, this girl don't play.
What you gotta do.
She don't play. Okay.
I'm on that street. Well, it's strict over here. Don't lie. It's strict. It's a little strict.
I am not mad at it. Okie dokie smoky. So before we get into our topic, and it's a good one today, I like to ask my guests, because here you pop your shit, I give you flowers, all the things, but I like to ask my guests, what's one thing or two things or three things that you admire about yourself?
One thing I admire about myself. Let's see.
Or two or three.
I'm gonna go with one, because
Okay.
I can talk. I admire my imagination. I feel like growing up as an only child, that's the one thing that you had to like really lean into. And so even now as an adult, my imagination is still so vivid. It's still so like, it lets me know I'm alive. So I admire my imagination and the visionary stuff that I create because of that.
Well, they don't know you, so tell more around. Oh, excuse me. So they don't know you, so tell them more around what it is that you create, or how your imagination, manifests these beautiful things.
Well, for starters, the private practice, and being able to imagine that and envision that, even though not knowing what the blueprint is going to be. But for fun, all things decor, decorating, designing websites, I just enjoy that stuff. Balloons.
You can have all this shit.
When I was pregnant, I was
Uh-huh.
pregnant doing balloon garland. So I really like that type of stuff. Planning trips and seeing the vision. So anything.
That was one thing you left off when you was introducing yourself. You should have said like travel agent, I'm a party planner, I'm all these things.
I should have.
I think what I admire the most about you is your advocacy. And I don't mean that in just a professional, sense. I think that I feel that way with family. I feel that way with your friends. Like, she the one that you don't got to worry about not taking up for you in your absence. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Shantelle was there, so. Yeah. I forget what, and we are not going to talk about it, but I forget. I remember who it was, and you was like, we're not going to say that on camera, okay?
Okay. What you talking about? What's the situation?
You was just around and someone said something. You was just like, no, I don't. That wasn't her. But anyway,
okay.
I just appreciate and admire the advocacy that you have for all people. And it's like I said, it's just not in your work. It's in your relationships. It's in your family. We've talked a million trillion times about this situation is happening, girl. I got to go to North Carolina. This situation is happening. I got to call these people. What?
I'm just thinking as you're talking.
Yeah. Your advocacy is unmatched. So
I appreciate it. I feel like a lot of that, what you just shared, that stems from being an only child. Like, I didn't have no big sister or big brother, so I had to use my voice, and I think it stems from that, being put in a position to advocate for myself and others, and it's just innate at this point.
It's so crazy because I think it's interesting that you say, well, I didn't have it, and so I had to learn to use it, because I feel like in the work that we do, or I'll just speak for myself, I see people who come from an only child household like silenced. You know what I mean? And so I think it's interesting for you to say like, oh no, I had to learn how to use it. What do you feel like was the I don't know if I want to use the word motivation, but the influence, right? Like, what was the influence or motivation behind like, hey, I have to use my voice? Or when did you notice that? This is a better question. When did you notice that you had to use your voice and you didn't have anyone else to?
Well, it's a two-part. I think one is growing up with a single parent and watching my mom navigate and advocate for whatever. Now, having to shift the way that I have done it, has been vital. But first part is watching her, and I think the second part is seeing sibling groups. And then I don't even think it was like I'm motivated to do it. It was times where I felt like I don't have a choice but to do it. I don't have anybody else. I was the first grandchild and the only grandchild until I was about 9 or 10. And so I think just being amongst adults and being in situations at school, some of the schools I went to were rough. So it was like, you didn't really have a choice. So
that's good, because like I said, I work with so many women, young and our age, and some like senior citizens that's like, oh, I can't speak up for myself, or I don't know how to speak up for myself, or I don't feel like what I have to say is valuable, right? And so I think that's great, because you're welcome, because it's folks out here that can't and ain't.
Yeah. And I have to, it's a fine line too, because you'll naturally find yourself overstepping when people haven't even asked you, because you're just just doing it. Whatever. But you'll naturally find yourself doing it, like jumping to try to solve somebody else's problem.
But the people that need it get it, right? And the people, I'm not going to necessarily say that don't need it, but the people that may give you pushback, there's still some appreciation for it. So don't ever think it goes in vain, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome, girlie. So now let's kind of have a conversation about navigating adult relationships. I know you and I have talked, and you be like, girl, like with these kids, and she has 2 children. You don't have Okay, so she has 2 children. So sometimes she's like, girl, I got these kids and I'm doing this, and I feel like sometimes I can't be a good friend, and all the things. So I think it's great for us to have a conversation around navigating adult relationships, because again, I don't want to keep referencing these clients because this isn't a space where we come and be therapists, but I see a lot of people navigating them and or having struggles with navigating adult relationships and carrying a lot of guilt, right? So when you think about friendship, or you think about sisterhood or brotherhood, we ain't gonna be, feminist. But when you think about friendship or sisterhood, how would you define that? You don't gotta be no
today.
Webster's.
How would I define it today, or just like across the board, like early 20s up until?
So let's do this. Let's start early 20s and then go. You want people to know your age, and then go to where you at.
Girl, the people gonna Google me because how is all my information just out there like that?
Girl, it's scary.
Girl. So I think early on for me, sisterhood was like very, very tight relationships, close bonds. Like I said, I'm an only child, so it felt like very personal for me. Like, these are relationships that are near and dear to my heart, and yeah, that's how it felt early on. I think today it still feels that way, but it also feels like I have like a different level of knowledge where I'm understanding that, like, wow, everybody has their own schedule going on. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody has different perspectives, and so I'm open to what sisterhood feels and looks like as time evolves and as life changes.
It's interesting. This is on track, but kind of not on track. But anyway, you talk a lot about growing up as a only child. As you know and everybody know, I ain't the only child, and I got a million trillion sisters. And my sisters, hear me clear. Not being a jerk or a brat, but hear me clear. Although I grew up, how do I articulate it? I didn't necessarily grow up with my sisters because there's a huge age gap, right? It's up to 20-year age gap. And so I wasn't an only child, and I had all of these sisters, but I didn't feel like I was able to experience sisterhood. Does that make sense? And so I never really felt insecure about how I showed up as a friend, but I think I found myself like overcompensating, right?
I see that.
And so, shut up, Shantelle. I found myself overcompensating it and calling it being a good friend. I can even kind of think back to childhood. I played, I don't know what's going on today, but I played a million trillion sports, and sometimes I would neglect like pouring into myself to go over here and help this person out. And I can be completely transparent and honest and say, like, some of it was like to gain their friendship or to gain their sisterhood, right? And I don't think I had the awareness until like deep into adulthood.
Okay.
Right? And I will always say, like, oh, I value sisterhood and I value friendships. And I do. I really do. But I think there was like this like piece of like overcompensation, and it was very genuine, but I would sacrifice a lot of myself because it's like, wait, I need this sisterhood, I need this friendship, and I still feel like I need it, but I had to kind of understand pretty much a spinoff of what you were saying, like, yeah, you can be a sister, but you can also be, someone that prioritizes themselves. You can be a sister or you can be a friend, but you can also be someone that has boundaries. And just because you set a boundary doesn't mean, you're not a good friend. Or just because you set this boundary doesn't mean, oh, you're neglecting the relationship. But at some point, girl, you got to stop overcompensating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like you and I have had that conversation in the past, but I just wasn't ready to receive it then, right?
Like, I said it to you.
Yeah, like, girl, you doing too much. Like, why are you rolling your eyes?
I'm trying to look at the camera. No, I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
Yeah, you said before, like, girl, you doing too much. And it wasn't like this deep conversation around, like, hey, you're overcompensating.
Yeah.
And
those weren't the words.
No, but it was just like, yeah, you know you don't have to do that.
I feel like it was around wedding season, like many moons before I got engaged. Like you were like a worker bee going to the weddings, like, and I know you wanted to like show support, but you were in so many weddings at one point, and you was like stretching yourself so thin.
Yeah, I say that all the time, and I actually started typing this on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. Like, I appreciate that I always show up for my people, and I was like, let me delete this because I don't know if this is the flex you think it is, Yolanda, right? And so, like, I do appreciate that I show up because, you know, I want it in return. I don't do it to receive it in return, but I do like that I make my people feel loved, right? But I think sometimes I don't have like a good balance with it.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Anything in response to that before I go to our next question?
No, I was just gonna ask you, do you feel like that creates a false sense for people to expect that? Where they don't recognize, like, hey, this is the extra part of the friendship. This is not the meat and the potatoes. This like the juice that's left. This ain't what I'm required to give because I'm going out of my way to give you something.
I don't know that it is received in a way of this is extra, more so than I think I show up. I think I introduce them to a version that at this age, with everything that I have going on, I can't maintain. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like I show up and I'm like, hi! And it's like, that smile ain't gonna stay like that all the time. Make sense?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a good question. But yeah, I think I just introduced them to a version that they're just not always gonna get.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I mentioned love, right? So in your adult relationships, right? In your adult relationships, you're an adult. In your relationships, what makes you feel loved?
From like my platonic friends?
Yeah.
I feel like when people understand me, I feel loved, and when people support me, I don't know that I necessarily broadcast moments for me to be supported, but I feel like when people that are my friends or supposed to be my friends, when they're kind of tapped in to me and they know what I have going on, they help celebrate me in those moments. So that's how I feel loved.
You mentioned the word like broadcasting what you have going on. Why does it have to be broadcasting and not just simply sharing? Like, hey y'all, this is what I got going on.
I don't know. Sometimes, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I do feel like I do share what I have going on, and then there are other times where maybe I hold back because I don't feel like certain friends will be able to give what I give, and so I don't necessarily put that expectation out there for them because I don't want to get let down. Like, I know some core friends that it don't matter, they're gonna come and show up and show support, and so I probably would broadcast to them, hey, this is what I got going on, da 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 da. But then when I think about like my external layer of friends, it feels like a broadcast because I'm not confident that those people will support in that way. So
essentially, and you pretty much said it, essentially not setting yourself up to be disappointed.
I think so. I think so. Or it's kind of like, hey, this is what I got going on if you can make it. But it's like, as I'm doing the guest list, I have to consider how you've shown up in my life. And so I don't want to disappoint myself in that way for something that's big for me. Because I feel like I could be wrong, but I don't think I asked for too much. Now, if it's around my birthday, I'll be asking for shit. But like, in general, as a friend, I don't feel like I pull and tug on people to come and just show up for me.
Do you feel like Because when we talk about showing up, right, it's so many layers. It's so compounded, right? Because you said earlier, like, you got to understand that you have learned to understand that people's views are just different, right? Mm-hmm. So when you think about showing up, do you feel like sometimes people show up in the way that they can, and even though it may not look the way you think it should look?
That's a yes and no for me.
Okay.
Because if I see you do it in other spaces or with other people, then I know that you're more than capable. Mm-hmm. I think it's more so of a want or a desire or willingness. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it looks like, and this could be an assumption, but it looks
Stop with that. Stop saying it.
I just got to preface it because I could be assuming, but it feels like, to me, it feels like you're just not willing to show up in that way in this particular friendship with me. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. But I do know that some people only have a limited capacity, and I don't expect much from them. And I have a long-term friend like that I've been able to maintain for over 10 years. But then if I see you doing it, you know, in other spaces and other situations, I'm kind of side-eyeing you a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself addressing those things, or is it the side eye and kind of noted?
In the past, I would say I have addressed it, and it could have come off in a brash way. Mm-hmm. And then there were times where maybe I hadn't addressed it. It was just something I felt, and over time, I just let it, you know, kind of be.
Yeah, I think what I've learned about not addressing it in not just platonic relationship, or not just in my sister circle, but even in romantic relationships, there's this like subconscious level of resentment that we grow, and it can come out by way of how we navigate the relationship, right? And it's not until you're like, this is compounded. I'm not mad that she didn't call me back. And I don't even like to use the word mad. I'm not, or angry, right? But I'm not experiencing this feeling right now because she didn't call me back. It's because she also didn't text me back the other day. Or when I asked her this question, she didn't, respond. And so I think what I have learned, and I'm still learning because, well, I do have me and Butter was talking about attachment styles earlier. But while I do have an anxious attachment style, I think a lot of times I can be a bit avoidant because I just don't have time for the conflict. Right? And so I'm trying to learn how to address things and understanding that it doesn't have to look like, "Arr!" You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to look like, because what had happened when you had said and you didn't do, like, it doesn't have to do that. And I think also with how crazy the world is, so many people are going through so many things, and it's like, oh, I didn't know your dog had died. Mm-hmm. So now I'm feeling like an asshole, or, I didn't know that your account was negative. You know what I'm saying? So it's just so many things. And so I feel like I'm doing a better job at just addressing the things. And let me not even use the word address, because I feel like that sounds aggressive, right? Or having conversation. Really, to me, it does. I want to address this. Yeah. So yeah, just having conversation around it so that it doesn't have to be like this compounded resentment that I'm holding for this person. So
no, that's a good thing. I was gonna say, to your point, I feel like sometimes you can do that and do the right thing, but I guess that lets you know if it's a true friendship on the other side of that conversation, or on the other side of what you're feeling. Because sometimes, a phone call is better than a text message to really see what a person has going on. I can't pull up to your house, or I can't, just tap in like that. But let me call you and really check on my friend and see what you got going on. Because sometimes you got to think like, okay, are they really like that? Yeah. And it's like, if it's out of character for them, it's like, let me give them a little grace and call them and see, what they got going on.
I'm laughing, and I don't even know if she be watching, but Brittany, one of my, Brittany, our friend Brittany, I was not answering the phone. I don't know what the hell I was depressed about at the time. Child. the fuck is at my door? Yo, I know you in there. I'm like, what in the hell? She's looking through the window. Brittany pulled up. Because she was like, what's going on? We need to talk about it. So, love you, Britt. But yeah, I just think I'm learning, or I have learned, I think earlier we was talking about 20s versus 30s, right? In my 30s, like, let's have some conversation around this. And it can go really good or it can go really bad. But at least we arrive at a resolve.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Adult relationships can be a lot because we're navigating work. We're navigating whatever our romantic relationship might be. You know, at our age, we have these aging parents. We have, for me, it's like, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be doing this? We have all of these things, and it's like, okay, I have all of these things, and I still got to show up and be a therapist, right? I still have to show up and be a friend. I still have to show up and be whatever other hats that you wear. And so I just think it becomes so much. And I can just be honest and say sometimes I can't even articulate what the hell is going on, right? And it's just like, I just need to be left alone.
Yeah.
You know, like, go ahead. I was speaking over you.
No, I didn't say anything, but I was thinking as you were talking, I was just like, as you were talking about like how hard it is to navigate, and I'm just like, should it really be that hard though? If I have a friendship and I've known you through many seasons and many phases, like, it should be nothing for your first thought if something is off to think, that's not something my friend would do, or my friend is not like that, versus the negative that will pop up. I feel like, and I don't know, I feel like women in general can make relationships more difficult to navigate, because I feel like a lot of women there are more apt to give a man, a dude, a nigga they dealing with.
Why is that?
I'm gonna give him all the grace. Like, he don't answer, I'm gonna check in. Hey, everything okay? Oh, just, you know. But when it comes to your female friendships or relationships, why aren't we operating in that same way? Why aren't we giving them that same benefit of the doubt when they deserve it more than the other person, because they've been here holding you down? You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like it should not be that difficult to navigate, but I feel like communication and ego is what keeps it from being able to.
I agree.
Be easy.
I agree 1000%. And I think my question is like, why is that, ladies? Why do we? Because at one point, I do feel like I was included. Not so much now, but why do we give men the benefit of the doubt, or second chances, or be willing to have conversation with them around conflict? But when it comes to our girls, why?
Multiple chances.
Yeah. Years.
Or this, you don't even have to assume. The information could be right there, and you still gonna double back. You still gonna circle the block. Why
do women do that? Or why do we do that? Or why have we done that in the past? I'll say for me, I think, I don't want to keep like putting everything on therapy and being unhealed, but I do feel like there's an element of like yearning for love from just a man at times, and it's like we can operate out of like lacking or scarcity, like I need to hold on to this because it ain't gonna be no more of these, right? Whether they a good one, whether they ain't a good, it doesn't matter. Like let me hold on real tight to this because a piece of, damn, what's that song? That old school song. It's basically like having did Betty Wright say it? It's like having what is it? Like having a piece of man is better than having no man.
I know what you're talking about.
I think it's Betty Wright. It's Betty Wright, ain't it? See, y'all go listen to it. Betty Wright say something about having a piece of man is better than having no man. But Betty Wright was full of shit and she needed some therapy. But I think that's also a part of it. Like this yearning for this male love. And I think it's almost like I know my girls are gonna be there. Right?
Yeah.
I know that we're going to navigate this and we're gonna be okay, but not aware of how you're treating your girl in the process. And it's like, well, I don't have to be here. You do understand that, right? And so I just think there's this expectation, or this I think there's this expectation that our girls are always gonna be there, and it ain't too many of these men.
I feel like I'm on the other scope of it though, because like I said, I've always treated my girlfriend relationships like to the chest, like romantic relationships. And so with me growing up with an absent dad, to me it wasn't the yearning. I'm sure I did yearn, but it was like, fuck a nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to like deuces, I'm out. But it was across the board. Even in my relationships with females, I didn't give a lot of grace. If you crossed me, or if I felt like you crossed me, there was no space to, you know, give a person grace or space to communicate. It was deuces, and it was to anybody and everybody. And so I feel like that's the other side of it. Like, I'm gonna cut a nigga off, and I'm gonna cut you off too. I
have an interesting question. Well, it's not that interesting, but I think it's interesting. But I think it's interesting because I think it made me like want to explore something about myself. You said pretty much I was cutthroat, right?
Yeah.
I was cutthroat, little to no grace. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was just a layer of protection. Like, if you're using the daddy, for example, in the yearning, right? I already don't have that type of love, and so it's like when people say you can't miss what you never had. And so I'm not pulling from an empty cup. I'm pulling from what I see, and so it's deuces. If you're not, you know, doing the things, or if we can't communicate and come to a place, then I'm out. And sometimes it was me, you know, my attitude or whatever it was a zero tolerance.
I've experienced that before, y'all. But we back, and I love her.
That's for part two. That's for part two. You ain't experienced it like it was
in college.
In college or before that. Because, woo child. But that was also learned. My mom was like that. My mom had a tight girl circle, and they would call the girls, and it was her 6 or 7 friends, and they were like this. But my mom was also a zero tolerance person, and so I watched her navigate hurt and pain by cutting people off. I think it wasn't until my young adult years where I was like, you need to call so-and-so, or you might be wrong in this one. And so having to navigate that and talk to her, it helped me shift away from what I had learned. Not that she taught me that, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, condition.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay. You want to play? So.
Yeah, and I think for me, I saw holding on to relationships. I don't want to air my daddy dirty laundry. But my dad, he ain't gonna listen no way. My dad would hold on to relationships like forever. Right. Till you know, he would have conversation with me, or you know, he'll come home cussing and fussing, whether it be platonic or romantic, but he would still entertain the relationship. You know, I grew up in the church. Who was there every day, you know, twice on Sunday, and I would hear my godmom talk, not necessarily talk about people, because she didn't talk about people, but she would share her frustrations about some relationships, but stayed very loyal to them, right? And so I think for me, it was like, hold on to these relationships. And I think another part for me was, again, my siblings were significantly older. My brother, we have a 6-year age gap, but he grew up really fast. So that 6 year really felt like 10, 12 years. And so I didn't grow up around a lot of my family, because, you know, family all over in different states. And so for me, it was like, my friends are my family, right? And so I have to hold on to these people very near and dear. And so I gave a lot of grace. And just like you know, I wasn't saying I was never, you know, the cause or the villain in the story, but to me, it was like, no, hold on to this relationship. And even in some romantic relationships, hold on to this relationship, because again, like, you don't really have that many people around. So,
girl, I watched my mom live in the same household with her brother and cut him off. Like, how you live in the same household and you cut somebody off? But I do feel like I adapted, like, college years or whatever, like, just recognizing, like, okay, I can see and step outside and give people second chances or revisit this friendship because it has some good elements to it. So, they might not have been the right friendships to practice that on, but, you know, I was open to do that.
When do you feel like, because I don't want to say grace is like a buzzword, but I don't know that growing up I heard the word grace. If I heard the word grace, it was in a hymn. Your grace and mercy. I feel like I heard it in you know, in church. I didn't really hear it as it was related to like relationships, right? So when do you feel like you learned and really understood what grace was or is?
I experienced that through some of my good friends. And like I said, it took people to know me in college the way that I was. And so friends that still love me, even though I might have had a mood or I might have been doing way too much, which was often. But friends who continue to like love me and stick with me, I don't even think consciously I put two and two together until now, but I experienced some good, you know,
some good people
relationships, and that allowed me to be able to, at the time, I think, see like different elements. Like I can see this person, we having a lot of fun, so I want to continue to.
I'm gonna be drunk in a minute.
Grace in a way where like I don't even think I really considered it grace. Like, this person is fun. We're having a good time, even though they was on some bullshit or they did some bullshit. I want to keep this friend. I think that was my way of extending grace during those times.
I think I started understanding grace, or I grew a different level of appreciation for grace in 2016. It was a lot going on. That was when I left Defects. And that's all I'm gonna share because it was some other stuff going on that I don't feel comfortable sharing. But it was when I left Defects, and like that's when my mental health like really started to suffer, and it was like bleeding into a lot of my relationships in my family. And one specific, Ebony. That's when Ebony was still living down here, and I don't want to say necessarily that I was out of control, but I was real like snappy, for lack of a better word, right? Ebony would ask me a question and it would just be like the response was like in aggression or out of aggression, and me and Ebony say all the time we broke up. Me and Ebony broke up, and it was literally like, you know, 2016, Yolanda and Ebony just aren't a good fit. And so we went our separate ways for like a couple weeks, and her mom got really sick, and a high school friend had called me like, hey, like, do you know Ebony's mom is on a ventilator? I was like, who? Ebony who? Because you ain't talking about my Ebony. They was like, yeah. I called her, and that was it. Like, it was, and I mean, we've had conversation around it, but that's when I understood what grace was, right? So despite how poorly, you were treating me, I understand that you had issue going on in your life, and it was misdirected, you know, anger and frustration. But I can understand that, but you didn't understand that at the time, right? And so what I needed to do, I'm speaking as I'm Ebony, and so what I needed to do was step away, because I can give grace, but I ain't got to be no fool, right?
You have to put up with
it. And I think that's when I started understanding grace. That's when I started going to therapy. That's when I started understanding how much like this compounded trauma had an impact on how I would respond to things, and I don't feel bad about it. I mean,
I ain't laughing at that.
Yeah.
I just had a flashback of something you did.
Oh shit! What'd I do?
Not for nothing. You tried to put one of our friends out on the highway.
That is not funny. It's not funny, and I'm not proud of it. I think that might have been No, that was before.
That was prior to, because
yeah,
that was maybe like 2014. Yeah,
it's not funny, so we're not gonna laugh because I felt terrible.
But before that, like you was on one. You was crashing out. Yeah.
What was my crash out looking like? What I do, girl?
Girl,
what I do?
What didn't you do,
girl? Well, guys,
no, it was you were in a space of reaction. I'll say that, and it didn't matter what was like causing the reaction. Like you would just react.
What episode? I think it was the episode with me and Janae, and we kind of talked about grief and misdirected anger and things like that. So never ever would I use it as an excuse, but as a 35, almost 36-year-old now, like I'm aware, and that's why I say I don't feel bad about it.
This might have been in 2014 when that happened.
Yeah, so
this might have been in
11 years ago.
Yeah.
So I say it all the time, and not to be a jerk or an asshole, but I don't feel bad about it, and I say that because I didn't have control over what upbringing looked like. You know what I'm saying? And there was no resources provided to me as a child or as an adult from the adults. You get what I'm saying? So all is well. I'm good now. I was a crash out, y'all, but I think that's why I'm able to do this work and show up and understand my clients and all the things. Thank you so much for being here, girl. We're going to have a part 2.
Absolutely.
I don't know how deep we're going to get, but we're going to have a part 2. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. See you soon.